are creative in one way or the other. A lot of people feel like they have a book in them, or they have a song in them, or they have a TV show idea. And you can sit around and talk about that all you want. But until it is actually reality, it doesn't count. When I was younger, I don't know how many songs I half wrote, but never quite finished, and never finished recording, or never even started recording. And no one knows that those songs existed. So it kind of doesn't count until you finish it and then put it out into the world. Now, I'm not saying put crap out into the world, but there comes a time when finishing and moving on, I think, is vital. Otherwise, you're just holding on to all of these old works. And I think if you want to grow as any sort of creative person, you need to finish things. That cliche of art is not finished, it's abandoned. Yes, it can always be better. But you have to finish and you have to put it out, because otherwise you're just the guy talking about your art and you're not the guy doing it. You get better by doing it, finishing it, learning from that process.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back live here on The Charge. Excuse me for not showing up right on time, but hopefully you guys are having a great Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, depending on where you're at. It's going to be kind of a chill stream today. We've got Logan on with us. Probably have to get my headphones. That'd probably be a good idea. But we're just going to kind of make it a chill stream tonight. Nothing too crazy, nothing too outlandish. We're just going to talk some, see who the MVP is, maybe talk some of this this Nets game that we watched last night. The Nets obviously are one of those teams that is going to be talked about a lot, just due to the fact that they have three superstars on their team. And, when anybody has, three superstars on the team, you want to kind of understand, who they are, what they do. And, it is one of those teams that, like I said, are very interesting and probably the most interesting team out there in the NBA as we know it. But again, guys, we are here again to talk about, some MVP talk as well, because right now, according to most polls, MVP race in the NBA is pretty close, I would say. I would say this is probably one of the closer ones, but if we were looking at it from Basketball Reference, the top candidates are, of course, Jokic, Embiid, Kawhi even's on this list, LeBron James, Paul George, Damian Lillard, Rudy Gobert. There's so many players that are included in this list. So, without further ado, let's get into it. And let me bring Logan in here on The Charge really quick and see if he is ready to talk. Let's see here if he's ready. We got Brad in the chat. Brad, are you here? I know we got Logan in here, but we got Brad as well. Here? Logan, are you there?
Yep.
Yo, 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 what's good? What's good? What's good? We got Brad as well. Logan, are you there? Oh. Yep. Yo, 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 what's
Here we go.
all
All
right?
right.
You all set?
I'm good to go. I'm all good to go. We got Brad here too?
He's in the. Oh, he's out of the server now. He
Oh,
was in here, but I guess it.
technical difficulties.
Yeah, I guess so. But Logan, how you doing, man? I know it's been since Monday since we talked. I know we've got a lot of things to cover here. Probably not as much time as I would like, just because I got a team meeting with my own basketball team, unfortunately. So won't be a long stream, but I think it'll be. I think it'll be an informative one because I think we got with some different topics to talk about here. One being, of course, the MVP race. Logan, I know you have a lot of thoughts on that, and we will get to that in just a second. But as of kind of like the front news that we could talk about here, your boy Kevin Love just got cleared for basketball activities, so you'll be seeing him relatively soon.
Oh, extra excited about that one. You know the Cavs are going to be making a deep playoff push this year just because of that. I could see Kevin Love being in the MVP conversation, truthfully.
Yeah, you think so? You think you could see him being in there?
Nah, that's a little too much cap. But yeah, I can see them making a little playoff push, definitely in the East. They can compete.
Yeah, I think they can too. I mean, like I think we talked about before. I mean, I think they can compete. The problem is that they're one of the worst offensive teams in the NBA, and obviously offense isn't everything, and I understand that. But it's easy to score against teams like the Brooklyn Nets, who basically play no defense. They basically let you score a bucket so they can just score more down the other end. But it will be fun to see what Kevin Love can add to this dynamic, and also will be interesting to see how they even balance out that dynamic, right? You have so many bigs on the court. You have, it will be an interesting thing to watch, for sure. Let's see here. But you know what? Let's start this conversation off because I think everybody's here wanting to know, Logan, the MVP race is probably, it's the biggest pristine award. It's the one award where I wish that they would give it in the regular season and not wait until the end of the NBA regular or the NBA playoffs, or around that time to say like, hey, this is going to be the winner of the NBA MVP, when we know that, like for example, Giannis last year, he absolutely choked it and didn't advance past the Miami Heat, and the Miami Heat went it on to go to the NBA Finals. So Logan, with that being said, with my little rant on why I think the MVP should be announced earlier rather than later, who do you have as kind of your MVP? Oh, Logan, you there? Properties. Alrighty. He doesn't have an MVP. Huh? What do you mean he doesn't have an MVP? Logan, Brad, anybody there? I guess no one's there. Alrighty. I guess he doesn't have an MVP, but as we kind of talk about these technical difficulties that we do have here on the charge, the one thing I will say about the MVP race is that it is, again, a very interesting race that is indeed, kind of filled with a lot of, I would say, a lot of people that are, well deserved of the award, right? So we have Jokic.
Bernie, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You there?
All right, had to get out there and rejoin. So, who do I got as my MVP?
Yeah, who you got as your MVP?
I was curious. Are you talking today or are you talking projected?
I'm talking projected. We got to talk. Well, yeah, let's talk projected first, and then we'll kind of track back and see like who you think the MVP is right now. But I want to know, like, before the season started, who do you think was going to be the MVP?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Before the season started, Kevin Durant.
Okay. What are you thinking now?
After so far, how many games have we had? I mean, it's so early into the season, but I would have to say Kawhi Leonard.
You think Kawhi Leonard's MVP? Okay. Why is that? What about Kawhi is screaming an MVP candidate?
Well, first off, the guy wins, which is probably the most important component of the MVP award. So once you establish that, then you look, okay, how does he influence his team, right? Because you can name a guy like Kyrie Irving, James Harden, an offensive threat, even a Nikola Jokic, I could say too, offensive threat that helps their team out on that side of the ball, but at the same time, and it is very one-dimensional when it comes to how they defend, which is they don't defend at all. Kawhi Leonard, on the other hand, does both, and he's doing both at the highest level in the NBA right.
Okay.
And he's doing it on the second best team in the hardest conference, and so that's why I had to give it to him.
Okay. So you got Kawhi Leonard as your MVP. Interesting. Okay. Unless we have Brad in here, which I can't tell if he is or is not in here.
Hello?
Oh, what's up, Brad?
Hey,
What it do?
So, Brad, I don't know if you heard the question that we're talking about, but we were talking about who you think is right now. Well, let's go projected, and let's go as of right now. Who do you think is the MVP so far in the NBA?
So far, I think it's got to be Joel Embiid. Sixers are number one in the East, and he's been playing like a mini Shaq all season. I know he's rested a couple games, but he's playing most games, and when he plays, the Sixers look like the best team in the East. When he sits, they lose to teams like the Pistons and the Cavs. I got to go with Joel Embiid as a front runner. For second, it's probably a tie between either Nikola Jokic and LeBron.
Okay. Yeah, I don't like that Embiid pick. I think Embiid's pretty good, but I think
to say you only rested a few games is a very light statement.
That's true. I mean, he's rested how many games now? He's played 16. They've already played how many? 20 something already? Like 21. So I mean, like he's rested a few. I mean, obviously, I think for the MVP, in order to like actually be the MVP, I think you can't miss more than like what 20% of your season. And so depending on what the 76ers aspirations are, like Brad, do you think that like Joel Embiid and the 76ers are like, if he is the MVP, if he is someone that you see as like this dominant superstar on the East side, do you see him kind of prevailing and moving on to the NBA Finals then?
It depends on how the matchups work out. I think if they play the Nets, the Sixers will win just because they have actual defense, and that's pretty much it. They have defense. Nets don't. Embiid would eat. He'd probably average 40 that whole series.
Okay.
But I think if they run into a team like the Bucks, they might have some trouble with that. Just because Christmas.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if I was cutting out or not.
Yeah, Brad, you're cutting out a little bit for me. I'm not sure if you're back yet or not. But as we kind of work out these, all right, as we kind of work out these technical difficulties, I'll kind of go ahead and go. So Brad, sorry for that. But what I would say about the MVP is that right now, I think Jokic, although their team record isn't so great, and we know that before in previous past histories, team record doesn't really matter for the MVP. Jokic is doing something that I think that a lot of us are either not like realizing, or maybe we're taking for granted, is that this dude is almost posting a triple-double as a center. And I think we haven't seen an NBA center really do that since probably, I want to say, Wilt Chamberlain. I could be wrong on that, so someone fact-check me out there if I'm wrong. But I think Jokic right now is kind of leading the charge because this dude is a game changer. I think, he kind of, as he kind of grows into his role and kind of becomes the better player that I know that he can be, like we're seeing a much better Jokic than year one to where he's at right now, which is like what, year 5 or 6? Even one. year 6, right? Starting off at like 10 points per game in his first season, now up to 26.8. And we know that Jokic scoring isn't what makes him effective. It's the ability to, pass the ball and being able to be one of those bigs that's able to move the rock and do a lot more with it than just score. Because we know that Jokic can score, right? He even said in an interview that he doesn't like to score. He likes to get other people involved. He likes to do the other things, which makes his job easier. Maybe that's the reason why he's not one of those like guys that dunks a lot or one of those guys that, does the crazy moves or anything like that. He's just solid fundamentally and just kind of shows you that, this is what's going on. And what's cool about this, I would say from Jokic's perspective, is that him and Embiid are really good free throw shooters. I mean, both guys, to each of their credit, they're shooting about 80, Embiid shooting 86% from the free throw line, which is impressive. And it's kind of the reason why I have him as my number 2 in my MVP category. And then I would probably put LeBron James there, and then probably Kawhi Leonard at 5. And I think Kevin Durant would probably be somewhere there as well. But the thing that I would say, and then Logan, you can kind of intervene if you feel like I'm wrong with it, is that I think Jokic, like I said, from the numbers, shooting 38% from the 3-point land, shooting 62 from 2-point, averaging about 5.8, free throws a game. I know Embiid averages a lot more, with 11.3. But the rebounding to me is more impressive. The assists are even and that's the thing. Like, I understand like the offensive system is built around Jokic to make those passes, make those reads, and even make those cuts, and even drive the lane and try and dish it out to somebody. But I think the way that Jokic plays is the way that I think a lot of us would like, what we want to see out of like some of our centers, in today's modern era of basketball, where the big is no longer the traditional, I'm in the low post all the time. I basically have to make, some post moves to score. Like right now we're seeing with Embiid and we're seeing with Jokic that mold has definitely been broken. But I think Jokic has taken it to another level with the way that he's been able to play. And pretty soon, these young guys that are coming up in these next couple drafts, Evan Mobley might be in that conversation in a couple years as to kind of that big that kind of changes the mold and is able to shoot, able to pass, and able to do a lot of things.
All right, so I agree with you on the fact that yes, this is an up-and-coming center type of movement that we're seeing in the NBA today. But you're definitely hyping Jokic up way too much. I mean, the guy is good, Bernie. The guy's great on the offense. And if you're really going to determine a player's value, you're going to have to look at their entire game. Yes, he can pass. Yes, he's below 7 feet, but gets 10 boards still. I'll give him credit for that. Without being able to jump, you have to have some skill. And he has a lot of that skill. But at the same time, he is not going to change the center position. He can't. Because in order to do that, you need to be able to win. Steph Curry was so successful, Bernie, because what he did won him games. When he pulled up 5 feet behind the 3-point line for no reason at all, just because they're up 20 points, I mean, the guy's, putting up 70 wins. You can't argue that he changed the game because of that. This guy is not going to change the center position playing the way he is because he is not winning by shooting the ball from 3-point land. And unfortunately, they rely on him to do that.
But is that his fault or is that because their team got worse? Because they lost Jeremy Grant and they lost Torrey Craig, 2 of their better defenders and shot makers.
Well, Brad, answer me this. As a basketball junkie, like I know you are, do you justify, regardless of who it is, do you justify your center to take 10 or more 3-pointers in a basketball? Your center. Take 10 or more 3-pointers. Can you justify that?
If it's Nikola Jokic, I think so. Just because
Dude, he's not Curry.
He doesn't take 10 a lot. He doesn't take 10 threes a game. How many threes a game is he shooting?
He's shooting too many, Brad. That's what I'm getting at.
Did you see what he did to Nikola Jokic like 3 days ago? Didn't he have 50 that game?
He had 47. Okay, but listen.
That's a
Yeah,
two-time
and you
Defensive
got to give
Player of
him
the
credit.
Year.
And guess what? He only put up 4 threes,
The Jazz are number 1 in the West. He
and
took
they
them
won,
down,
right?
broke their winning streak. Yeah, that was
But look
all
how many
Jokic.
threes he took. How many threes, Brad?
He's
He's
only
had
shooting
4.
4 threes a game.
4. He had 4 threes,
That's how
right?
many he's averaging.
Listen, look at the games where he's shooting 5 or more. I guarantee you he's going to have a losing record. I guarantee you he will have a losing record.
But I feel like he's only
The
shooting more
games,
because he doesn't have as many weapons. So they have to
sure.
lean on him offensively.
Yeah, from 3-point land? I don't think so.
I
No, not from 3-point land.
I think he actually already changed the center position because look at it now. If you're not Jokic, AD, Cat, or Embiid changed it too because now they can stretch the floor. Cat is probably the greatest shooting big man of all time.
Y'all
So
are sleeping on AD. He changed the whole position.
AD did too. You're right. I say it was mostly AD, but Jokic can play the same type of basketball, and so can Cat and Embiid. But it's made players like Rudy Gobert, who play the old school center, kind of obsolete in the playoffs.
But the thing is that my only argument against Nikola actually being in the MVP conversation is that the guy is not winning playing an MVP style of basketball. And I
That I could
understand
agree with.
that, winning, the record doesn't matter. I don't believe that fully. But if he's going to continue shooting all of these threes, he's not going to win the MVP because he's not going to make the playoffs.
Whoa.
I don't
Hold
think they'll
up.
make the playoffs.
Hold up.
What's that
The
take on the
chicken
spicy
nuggets are
noodle?
going to make the playoffs. Relax. like here's the thing, and I'll kind of butt in before I let you go again, Brad. But here's the thing, Logan, and the thing is with Jokic, yeah, he's shooting a lot more threes. He's shooting like 3.7 threes a game now, which is something that it doesn't matter who's shooting the three, but if you're consistently good at it, I mean, both Embiid and Jokic, and I'm not really the biggest Embiid fan, but you have to give respect and props to Embiid. He's shooting 40% from 3, and Jokic is shooting 38, which is definitely a lot better than that like 34 average that the whole NBA shoots.
I'm not saying he's a bad shooter. I'm not saying he's a bad shooter whatsoever. He's a great shooter. I already said he's an offensive threat. The guy's a beast. I'm saying they don't win when he plays that style. He cannot continue playing that way for them to win.
But the thing is that he doesn't even like playing that way. That's the thing with Jokic. Like, he doesn't like playing the scorer role because he knows that that's not what's going to win them games, and that's not what the offense is predicated about in Denver with Mike Malone. Like, they obviously need Jamal Murray to step up. They need the Gary Harris that came from last year. They need not the one in the bubble, but the one that was like pre-bubble. They need that Gary Harris to come back, and I think they do need to trade Gary Harris. Because they did lose Grant, like Brad said, which is a excellent point. They lost a lot of their kind of scoring assets. And now you're left with Jamal Murray, who's kind of getting exposed as not being, the guy that we all thought he was going to be, taking that next step that we all expected him to take. But when it comes to a guy like Jokic, man, I mean, yeah, I don't know how you can discredit 1.8 steals a game from a center. I know that steals, they're kind of, you can kind of poke your hand in there and they count that as a steal. But, Jokic is a smart player. Yes, he's not going to get the blocks per game that you're looking for at a center. Yes, he's not going to be, you get that switch on him, which I know that the Lakers exposed that when they did switch on him. And I know that other teams did that as well when they did switch to him. But he's still a crafty defender. I'm not saying he's the best defender, just like Curry's not the best defender in the world too. But again, Curry won a unanimous MVP, which I don't think is right, by the way. He won a unanimous MVP by just, having all the stats and doing all the things, obviously, what was it, that 73 win team? I could see Jokic having that type of season. I mean, you talk about Steph Curry, Logan, in that season that he won the MVP, the unanimous one, and, where is he now? Like, if he is the unanimous MVP, if he is this guy that everyone claims he is, why is this team struggling? Why is this team not doing so well? I understand you don't have Clay, but if you are the unanimous MVP, you've got to back it up, in my opinion. Like, that to me...
Well, can that mean them making the playoffs or them winning the championship? Because you can't expect the championship out of the MVP every single year, and you know that.
I mean, I do know that, but we're talking unanimous MVP. We're not talking just a regular, one by one or two votes.
Unanimous or not. I mean, Lamar Jackson was unanimous MVP of the NFL. Like, that doesn't mean everybody's expecting the Super Bowl out of this guy. You say that about any sport. Doesn't matter who you are or like what the circumstances are. You win an MVP award, great. No one's expecting you to win the championship. Like if Trae Young won it last year, I wouldn't be like, yeah, he's going to beat LeBron James in the finals. Like, no, that's ridiculous.
But they should at least be like a playoff team, playoff team threat. And they're not really a threat.
They need to be a playoff team threat.
So you don't think as of right now that the Denver Nuggets are a playoff threat? You think they're just some bums that have Jokic and are probably lucky if they make the 8th seed. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. We aren't talking about the Denver Nuggets as a team. I'm talking about Nikola Jokic. That's it.
All right, but the thing is that this is team basketball, and what you're saying is that because he's not playing, he's playing a different style, that they are going to lose, and that means that the Denver Nuggets won't make the playoffs. That's what you're telling me.
If he continues going down this path of I'm going to shoot 6+ threes a game, I don't think if they make the playoffs, it'll be a very low seed. But I don't think they would actually make the playoffs even in that situation. You can't rely on your center for all of your points in and outside, in the perimeter, outside, it just doesn't make sense. You can't rely on one guy for your entire offense, regardless of how good he is.
They're supposed to rely on Jamal Murray, too. He just doesn't show up.
I mean, you saw what happened in Houston with James Harden. And yes, he won MVP awards. He was extremely successful. They didn't do anything in the playoffs because you can't play that style of basketball. I just think this is just going down that same path.
Didn't James win an MVP, though?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. He did win it, and he deserved to when you look at the numbers. But looking at what they actually did in the playoff, I don't think spoke to his MVP award.
So
that's fair.
So I guess the thing is, like, are we diverging from the conversation of, the MVP award, right? So the MVP, like I said, you're not expecting much from them, but you are expecting them to do a little bit of something, right? So by your estimation, then, like, maybe Jokic is the right guy because his numbers are there. Like Kawhi Leonard, I mean, his numbers aren't really there. I mean, 26 points per game, that's good. What is that? 5.2 rebounds, 5.4 assists. I mean, this is supposed to be like the LeBron stopper. This is supposed to be the guy that's supposed to do all these things that you said, Logan. But, Kawhi to me I don't think he's any different than he was last year. Last year, he put up even better numbers, in my opinion, and he didn't even win the MVP. And so I think it's kind of the situation of, do you think that as of right now, Kawhi Leonard is playing the best Kawhi Leonard he's playing? And I guess the conversation now is like, are his numbers showing you that he's an MVP candidate? Which I don't think so, not in my opinion.
I think if he remains in the 2nd seed right now throughout the season or higher, I think the reason why they do that is going to be because of him. And if that occurs, I can easily see him being the front runner for the MVP. Because
over LeBron?
No, that's what I'm saying, Brad. Like, if they finish 1st or 2nd in the conference, it's only going to be because of Kawhi Leonard. Paul George sure is in the conversation, but I'm not going to put him in the top 5. It's going to be because of Kawhi Leonard. And if he does hold the Clippers in the top 1st or 2nd seed, then he it's a lock. It has to be. Unless you got a guy like, AD who starts putting up 25, 10, and 9, like Jokic is, but Jokic is in the 4th seed. And recently, I don't know how good the Nuggets have been doing.
I mean, the Nuggets right now are 12-8 in the conference. I'm not sure what position that they're in, but then you have, if you look at the other guys, 15-6 for Embiid, 16-6 for Kawhi Leonard. This is still a young season. Even your boy Kevin Durant, who you said should be in the conversation, is only 14-9. And then Damian.
That was pre-Harden.
Pre-Harden, okay. And I kind of agree with you guys with Anthony Davis, because Anthony Davis was my pick for MVP, because I really thought that this was going to be the year that LeBron. No, I'm not saying he digresses, but is going to take a little bit of a step back and just kind of let AD kind of do the talking. And AD right now hasn't really shown that MVP AD yet, which I'm hoping is coming. But I think it might be a little too late. Just with the slow start at the beginning. I mean, there's still a chance, obviously, but with the way that these other guys are playing, especially with the way Embiid's playing, if Embiid could and the thing is, Brad, and I know that you're an Embiid guy, if Embiid can stay healthy, I think he's got a great shot at winning the MVP. And that's the biggest caveat for a guy like Joel Embiid. In this Basketball Reference top candidates kind of MVP tracker, he's played the least amount of games compared to everybody else. It's not by much. Kevin Durant's played 17. Joel Embiid's played 16. But, like I said, it's still early in the season as well, so it's not like it's the biggest deal in the world. But at the same time, I think Embiid could have an opportunity to, try and make it really close. I mean, this is the first time in a while where we've had two centers, at least according to the MVP tracker on Basketball Reference, actually battle out for the MVP award. Which, and I know that you guys talked about them changing the game, but I think Jokic took it to another level, in my opinion. Even from last year, even to where he's at right now, the fact that he's, creating these opportunities, not just for himself, but for other guys with his ability to pass the ball. I mean, Anthony Davis isn't even doing that right now. He's only averaging 3 assists. And I know that, maybe some guys are missing for the Lakers. They're not making, I know that KCP is in a slump. But Anthony Davis isn't playing the aggressive AD that we know and love. So, I guess the question.
They also have a point guard. I mean, who's Denver's point guard? If you really say Murray,
Jamal
really,
Murray.
Guys, you just said Kobe White was a shooting guard, point guard, and
Jamal Murray is
thing about Jamal
he's
Murray.
Definitely a shooting guard. I agree with you, but
exactly. So you got to say the same thing about they don't have a point guard. So obviously, Jokic is going to have to fill that role, right? Dennis Schroeder is a solid fit in LA because he can pass the ball. AD don't need to.
I mean, well, I do agree with you there, but the problem is that you need your guys to be a triple threat guy. I mean, I think anybody would tell you that it would be much nicer if your players were all able to do every single thing, because then they could be interchangeable. The offense would be a lot easier to run. Not saying that, obviously height makes a huge difference with some things, but I don't know, man. I think that this will be an interesting situation as it pertains to, Denver and what they're able to do. Like I said, the Denver Nuggets right now, like I said, they're 12-8. They're not looking too hot, but, looking at their...
Just for the record, Bernie, I'm looking at some of these teams that they played this season. It's really not looking good. Teams they beat were scrubs.
They beat Utah.
Teams they lost to. Oh man,
So Utah's some bums. So Utah's the biggest bum team that you think they played.
All right, so they beat, and they also lost to Utah. They're 1-1 against them.
They snapped their 12.
They lost to the Spurs, who we all agreed on 2 days ago. So they aren't going to make the playoffs. They went and beat the Heat, who has a Jimmy Butler weighing as many points as he's averaging this year. It's horrible. And then you got the Mavericks, who's the bottom 2 seed. The Suns, they beat once and lost once, both overtime games. So it had to go to OT. Beat the Thunder.
They beat them twice. They beat the Suns twice.
Yeah,
okay,
which we all think that the Suns are a playoff team.
Yes, and they're gonna whoop them up.
I think you cut out again. That's basketball gods telling me that's full of cap.
Unlimited cap artists.
As we kind of wait for Logan to kind of return, I mean, Brad, what's kind of your take on this sort of 2-man race so far in the MVP race between Embiid and Jokic? What it seems like, what makes Embiid for you the MVP?
He's playing at a all-time level right now. I think this is his best season. He's putting up his highest scoring numbers with his highest efficiency. He's rebounding the ball well, and most importantly, he's playing Defensive Player of the Year defense. He's the whole anchor for that team. Every time Embiid is on the floor, you have to know where he's at. So I just think with those two, he's being elite on both ends of the floor. So he should, beat out Jokic, who can only play on one side of the floor, which is shooting and passing.
And I guess my next question is then, Brad, like, what do you make of a guy like Ben Simmons, who's on the team as well? Do you think that Ben Simmons hinders his ability a little bit? Like, do you think, like, let's say, for example, they made a trade, they got rid of Ben Simmons and brought in a guy like Bradley Beal. Like, does that help Embiid out in any way to, like, really solidify his MVP status? Or do you think that Ben Simmons is a perfect kind of fit for him in the way that the 76ers run their offense?
It's tough. I think Ben isn't the right fit. I think they're kind of just squandering Embiid's prime, trying to force Ben next to him. It's like putting a circle in a square. It just doesn't work. But if they traded for Bradley Beal, their offense would flow a lot smoother. But I think they would miss Ben's defense and playmaking a lot. So I don't know if Brad would be the perfect fit. I really think James Harden was the perfect fit, and they should have tried to get him.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the disappointing thing. And I think I've talked about it before, like with Ben Simmons, what I think frustrates me a little bit about him, and it's, I just think there hasn't been that like growth that I expected from a guy like Ben Simmons. He's kind of stayed the same. And I think that's the reason why I think it'll actually hinder Joel Embiid's ability to, one, win a championship, which I know that that's something that he's striving to get. And, especially, go to the Eastern Conference Finals and try and get to the NBA Finals. And, we expected this 76ers team by the time Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were a couple years into their NBA season to really get this team into NBA Finals mode. And, we're kind of, like you said, we're kind of squandering, or I shouldn't say we, but the 76ers, I feel like, are squandering his best years with the fact that they're not able to get him the right pieces around him. Like they're struggling to find they're struggling, I feel like, to keep the guys that they needed to. I felt there were some guys that they should have kept, some guys that they didn't. And, with Tobias Harris, yeah, he hit a great shot against the Lakers, but are you going to get that Tobias Harris in the playoffs? Are you going to get that Tobias Harris when you need it the most? And I've seen it way too many times before. I just don't believe in Tobias Harris in the playoff time.
Yep, I've seen it too. I've seen him miss so many clutch shots. When it comes down to clutch time, he is not your man. Jimmy Butler, when they had him, he was their man. They should have kept him. Tobias, I've seen him miss so many corner wide open threes. He just gets nervous. For Ben Simmons, I just think in the playoffs, when the game slows down a lot, it's going to be really easy to shut him down. Like Jared Dudley said, he's just kind of average in the half court. And, his numbers look nice in the regular season because it's inflated playing these bad teams where he can just run and gun. Sometimes Embiid sits and he might go off. But in the playoffs, when it's a 7-game series and a team can really scout you and prepare for you, the game slows down a lot. And he's just basically a power forward that can't shoot and can sometimes make a pass. But since he's going to pass, it's easy to play him. I think they flip him for something if they sputter out in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest with you, I think
what about Danny Green, though? Danny Green? Anybody?
Get out of here with Danny Green, man.
Playoff player. I mean,
5-time champion.
Last year he didn't show up really at all, but he had his moments and he plays good defense, I guess.
Danny Green is going to go into the Hall.
There's no way. One of the greatest shooters ever.
Yeah.
He does hold a couple finals records, actually, or at least one.
To me, he'll be like Kenny the Jet Smith, kind of like that. Like, I think that's kind of more where his role is going to be. Like when he, goes on to pass. I don't think Kenny Smith's a Hall of Famer, is he?
He might be. Let me see.
Let's see, Kenny the Jet Smith. Are you a Hall of Famer?
I mean, he has a nickname.
Yeah, but does Danny Green have a nickname? What's Danny Green's nickname?
5-time champion.
Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie.
That's messed up.
Not okay. Kenny isn't in the Hall.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of where I feel like Danny Green will fall. He'll be like, a great player. Everyone will remember kind of like what he did for those Spurs championships, well, the later ones at least, and then also, with the Lakers, well, maybe not with the Lakers so much, just because of that one of his final performances.
One shot.
Yeah, that one shot that will still be infamously remembered. But, kind of going back to the point about, the 76ers and kind of like the MVP and the championship stuff, like, with Ben Simmons, I think you're right, Brad, with the way that he plays. It's like, regular season, he's, passing the ball off. He's looking like Magic Johnson in the half court, making that like no look pass and all this other stuff. Obviously, I don't think he's done that yet, but that's kind of what we expected from Ben Simmons from not only the regular season but the playoffs. We expected some growth and improvement in his jump shot, at least to at least attempt them. And I just still haven't seen that, and I just feel like it's been too much Kardashians, too much FaZe Clan, video game stuff, and not enough like going out and working on that jumper. And I think, like you said, it's going to hurt Joel Embiid, I feel like, in the MVP conversation, because there could be some times where, Joel Embiid draws a double team. Ben Simmons, instead of being out in the corner, he's in the short corner being guarded by another guy, which crowds the paint. And, that takes away opportunities for Joel Embiid to get easy assists. And I think that's going to be one of the reasons why that I think the 76ers, if they're smart, if I'm Daryl Morey, I'm making a move right away to trade him, because I don't see like if one season more passes, I don't know what Ben Simmons' value is compared to this year. I mean, am I right or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been tanking for the last 2 years. He was an all-star last season, and then he sputtered out again in the playoffs. Actually, he got hurt, so yeah, his value's tanking.
Like, what do you think, Logan?
I'm not going to disagree with you guys. I think your statement's very accurate. At the same time, I wouldn't say he's sputtering out. I think he's more staying stagnant. He's more making a lateral move year to year instead of going upwards, and that's equivalent in a lot of people's eyes to making a downward when you're the number one overall pick. So I can understand how the expectation doesn't meet the performance on the court. But at the same time, then let's hold everybody to that standard, right? Just because you're the first overall pick or the second overall pick, like Lonzo Ball.
There we go.
You guys love to admire and praise all the time.
He's playing the Suns right now. I bet you he's hooping.
So, I'm just saying, let's make sure we hold that everybody who's a top pick to that same standard. But yeah, no, 100%. I agree with you. He needs to take a step up next year, Bernie. Otherwise, you kind of have to trade him if you're Doc, right?
I mean, you got to do something with him, because obviously that pairing hasn't worked. I thought the year that they played the Raptors and when they won their championship, that was honestly probably their best year to actually do something. I thought they had some good pieces, like Dario Saric, I believe, was still on the team. They had some great role players, and I feel like those role players that they wanted to keep, they just didn't stick around. Obviously, there was some expenses and stuff like that. You also had to deal with, I think the trade with Tobias Harris, I forget what that was. That was the Jimmy Butler trade. You had Jimmy Butler as well. Like, that should have been the team that won the championship. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. Obviously, they had Brett Brown. I to this day just do not like that coach. They should have fired him immediately after they got the players that they need for the process. And I think it would have been a better team in a better situation. But, I mean, they need to start looking for moves for him. I know we've kind of spurred this MVP talk to a conversation about Ben Simmons and the 76ers, but like I said, to kind of tie it all back together, and then I'll let you guys kind of have the final say on this, is I think Ben Simmons is going to be one of the reasons why Joel Embiid doesn't win the MVP.
That's rough to hear. If that happens, I really hope they trade him. I hope they trade him for Bradley Beal, I guess.
You can't have Bradley Beal and Tobias Harris on the same squad.
That's true. You would need a playmaker.
I mean, the thing is, Ben Simmons fits in so well in Philly. So it's hard just to give that up. I mean, Bernie, what is it that they really need?
The
make a jump.
76ers?
Yeah, to make a jump to the final.
The
Point
76ers,
guard.
they need a point guard, obviously a guy that can play make. And actually, I think they do need to trade Ben Simmons for somebody like a playmaking guard. I'm not sure what they could get for him. But they definitely need someone that is able to create not only for themselves, but also for other people. Because I think for Ben Simmons, it's like, yeah, he can create for other people, but he, in the full court setting. But when it comes to half court, like Brad said, and I think like Jared Dudley said, he's basically just go to the short corner. Doc Rivers is just going to put you there. You may get a little dump off pass so you can dunk it, but like his playmaking isn't being utilized in that situation. So I think you definitely need someone, and his shooting as well. He doesn't shoot the ball beyond 12 feet. So once you're beyond 12 feet, it's like basically, Ben Simmons is not a valuable player on the court. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's kind of the way I feel about it. 12 feet and in, yeah, he's good. He's good at finishing against smaller defenders. He'll punish people because, on switches and stuff like that. But, man, it is something they definitely need a playmaking guard. They need someone that can create some offense for them. And like you said, I don't know if there's anybody out there that's available at the moment. I'm trying to even think of any right now.
I'm just trying to comprehend how you guys are actually saying this about a guy who's nearly averaging a triple-double.
Logan, you saw Miami hold him to 1 point in that playoff series. That shouldn't happen if you're a star on your team.
Are you really going to bring up the bubble?
That wasn't even in the bubble. That was pre-bubble, but I mean...
You're talking regular season?
No, it was in the play. A couple years ago, like 2 years ago.
A couple years ago?
Bro, Dwayne Wade in his last year shut this man down, bro. Come on.
Okay, you're talking like 2-3 years ago.
He hasn't improved since, and every year it's the same thing with him in the playoffs.
This guy is averaging like 16, 17 points a game, close to 8 assists, and then has like 9 or 10 boards. Like, it's ridiculous.
Inflated because there's bad teams in the NBA that they get to play.
I can't. Really? That's your argument, that there's bad teams in the NBA, Brad? Really?
I've seen it. And he plays good in the regular season because he can inflate his numbers playing bad teams, and then in the playoffs, when he gets scouted, he gets shut down.
What are you asking then?
He's got to shoot, space the floor, be aggressive.
You got a point guard who's giving you dimes, getting you boards, and putting up 15, 18, 20 points a game.
Those all go down drastically in the playoffs. I'm going to look this up.
But Brad, I'm just saying, like, what more do you want out of a guy?
I want him to actually start shooting the ball when he's open and not being afraid to not take that open shot. I mean, like I said, like, and I
think they just need a shooting point guard.
But I mean, everybody has to shoot in the NBA. It's not like it was in the 1950s and 40s where like you basically tied one hand behind your back and you kind of did like a crab dribble all the way down. Like, that's not the NBA now. The NBA is not, even the 90s or the 80s, like everybody has to have the ability to shoot on the court. Unless you are a specialist in whether you are a rebounder or even a slasher, which even slashers at this point are kind of, they're not a dying breed, but they're more so they're not, like DeMar DeRozan type of players. They're not valuable in today's NBA. Ben Simmons has to provide more than just being a good passer in the full court set, fast breaks and all that other stuff. He has to do it in the half court. He has to be able to shoot because, like I said, Ben Simmons past 12 feet, like, what value does he add to your team? In my opinion, yeah, he does add the defense. Yes, he does add the playmaking at times. But when it comes to spreading the floor out, I feel like Joel Embiid is getting double teamed. He's not being able to get to the spots that he wants to. Yes, he's playing tremendous right now, but I think it's going to hinder even more when teams are like, okay, now that we know that Ben Simmons can't shoot, or like Ben Simmons isn't doing the things that he needs to do, let's just crowd and beat and let the other guys try and beat us.
And that's exactly what happens all the time.
You mentioned, though, Bernd, that you need shooters. You need shooters. Well, they have shooters, and they have 3 specialists, 3-point specialists on their team.
Can you name me those?
Seth Curry, Danny Green, and Terrence Ferguson. Those are 3 guys.
Terrence Ferguson? You did not just say
Brad,
Terrence Ferguson.
I'm not saying he's playing minutes. I'm not saying he's getting time, okay? I'm not saying that by no means here. Bernie, don't roll your eyes. I saw that.
I mean, I could see if you said Tobias Harris because he's actually someone that will take that shot. But man, Terrence Ferguson, man, come on, get out of here. Get out of here.
I'm talking a 3-point specialist, guys. Come on now. That is it. Not
Can we even call him that?
What else is he to do? I mean, the guy just shoots threes. Look at his.
Sit on the bench. That's what he does.
The bench, 100%.
He sits on the bench and looks pretty for the camera.
You don't got to, put up 5, 6 threes a game if you're Ben Simmons when you got those guys on the court with you. You don't need to do that.
I mean, you kind of do need to do that if you're wide open and no one else is shooting and you're wide open.
But bro, you don't shoot. What do you mean? Dwight Howard is wide open. He's not going to shoot it. If Shaq's wide open, he's not.
Dwight's not a point guard. So you're telling me Ben Simmons is like Shaq and Dwight Howard is what you're saying. So he is useless as a point guard.
Position, Brad, doesn't mean they need to play a certain style, and we're figuring that out very quickly now.
When you're next to the greatest big man of your generation, you have to, because he needs space to operate. If you're directly impairing Embiid's ability to perform because you're a liability on offense.
How are you a liability when you're giving out 8 assists and 8 boards, 15, 16 points a game?
His numbers go down in the playoffs every year.
Okay, we aren't talking about playoffs, Brad. We aren't talking about playoffs. We're talking
playoffs are all that matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Playoffs are all that matter. They're all that matter. They're all that matter. The regular season does not matter as much.
Look at playoff stats for everybody then, because we haven't done that for one player that we've talked about this entire time we've been here.
But that's the goal. So you're okay with Ben just giving you regular season numbers and then killing your team in the playoffs?
You can't do you can't just add that.
I'm not throwing them out the window, but it's just the reality of the situation. It's like, okay, Rondo plays bad in the regular season for a whole season, but if you have him on your playoff team, you're probably going to play better.
That's a big probably. And how are you backing that by 6-7 game series over the past 2-3 years?
His whole career, he always steps it up in the playoffs.
About less than 40 games, you're going to judge a player more on versus the 200-300 plus that we've seen him play. That's BS. That is BS. Sure,
the playoffs are a completely different game. It's not the same game. Yeah, so yeah, I'm judging off that. It's the same thing with Paul George.
You're going to take away all of Paul George's talent and value just because he had one playoff series where he went by playoff P and then pandemic P, and
that's not one. That's like his fourth one. Joe Ingles is better than him.
Pfizer P. Shout out to Brad for that joke.
Come on. Pedialyte P. Get out of here.
Pedialyte P.
I watched Joe Ingles sun him in OKC. Russell Westbrook dropped 45, and this guy shot 3 of 15.
Listen, I'm not saying this guy's MVP, but you can't deny that he's in the conversation, Brad.
He's in the conversation this year.
Exactly. You know why? Because they judge him off of talent. And you judge talent off of the majority
MVP is an empty vote, though. What means more? Finals MVP or regular season MVP?
I mean, if you're asking Giannis, I'm sure, he would say regular season, but
I think he might say finals MVP, actually.
I don't know, man. That guy looks like a beast in a regular season. In the playoffs, he's kind of trash. So he must be trash if that's it.
I think he's a fraud. He got to give one of those MVPs back to King James.
Oh, my God. Well, this kind of always goes back to that argument that we started with, which is how is the MVP even made up, right?
Yeah, they have no criteria for it from
BS from the start.
Yeah, the NBA media is kind of fraudulent for that. I really don't like the NBA media for like the votes and stuff like that, because I think they don't give it to the people that watch consistently, that watch every single game. I see some people that vote that probably watch maybe a couple games, maybe just the primetime games on ABC, ESPN, TNT, but they don't watch the other games. I'm sure these companies are giving them full access to League Pass and they're not taking advantage of the situation. And then it's like, all right, we need you to vote. It's the same thing for like the college football playoffs and like what they rank each team. It's like, these coaches aren't watching consistent, like all these teams playing in the college football, let alone I would not expect a reporter to watch every NBA game, but I need them to watch a little bit more than that. That's their job. Their job is to critique, understand who's been playing so far, what the stats are saying, what your eyes are saying to you, And I think that's the problem that we have in terms of this MVP award is that, I do think that year that Derrick Rose won his MVP, I did think that LeBron was a little bit better than him, in my opinion. But, I'm not going to take away the MVP from Derrick Rose, but I did think that LeBron James played a lot better than he did.
I will say he's the worst MVP ever. That's fair.
Ooh.
He was an exciting player, but he's probably the worst MVP ever.
That's an interesting topic.
Do you want to go down that rabbit hole?
Kind of want to look into this, like past MVPs, real quick.
I mean, you should. He had a really good team. They just gave it to him because of the narrative, and he was, the NBA is all about money. He was an exciting young point guard, would generate the most buzz. It just made sense, from Chicago, playing for the Chicago Bulls. So LeBron outplayed him that season, and if not LeBron, Dwight Howard outplayed him too.
Yeah, he stands out. He stands out a bit.
Yeah, there's a reason he was the youngest MVP. He didn't deserve it, really. Didn't someone just say that the other day? Like, not in these words, but they said LeBron has deserved MVPs like multiple times.
Yeah.
Was it Brad Stevens?
Might have been Brad Stevens.
That's the
Yeah,
only
he said something about
like.
that. I feel like it was either Brad or Steve Kerr. I'm gonna check on that.
But yeah, I mean that's just kind of the thing right now. The MVP award is an interesting award just because, like we said, and the thing too that I'll kind of go back to that I talked about before we had our technical difficulties was just that I think this award needs to be given out. If you're gonna give it to these guys, the Embiids, or not the Embiids, but the Giannis's and the Westbrooks and all these other players, you should definitely be giving these awards out before the playoffs even start. Because last year we looked at the playoffs, we saw Giannis win it after the fact that the champion, I think either it was the final week where the finals were taking place or sometime afterwards where Giannis was crowned the MVP, and we all looked at it like did he really deserve it after he got his butt whooped by the Miami Heat? And that's kind of the thing that I'll keep saying till the cows come home is like, look, we need to make sure that if you are going to give these awards out to these players, do it before the playoffs even start. So that way there's not this conversation coming from us and, basketball fans being like, why did Giannis get that award?
Yeah, exactly. It looked really bad last season when they gave it to him. They gave him that and Defensive Player of the Year award. And he just, before he got hurt, he was getting whooped by the Heat.
Well, if you do take into consideration that, the playoffs do kind of matter, I get why you would push it back a little bit. If Giannis, it was a first round exit, do you really think that would affect the voting?
I think so. It would show that he wasn't really the most valuable player in the league, whether to his team or in the league. Because usually the most valuable player is the best player. At least that's how it used to be, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way I see it too. It's just like, you expect these guys to you looked at the regular season and was like, yes, this is the guy that is able to carry to the MVP, do all these things. And we looked at Westbrook the same way, like, oh shoot, the triple doubles are here, like watch out, playoff time. And, Westbrook kind of flamed out, to the Utah Jazz of all teams. The Utah Jazz aren't, anything special. They don't have they have Donovan Mitchell, they have Rudy Gobert. But other than that, they're not the most athletic. They're not the most gifted. But because they played a style of basketball that was intuitive to the way to stop a guy like Westbrook and, Pandemic P being Pandemic P, Pfizer P, whatever you want to call him, it's just kind of one of those things. Did Westbrook really deserve those MVPs? I think he deserved maybe one. I think, did he win two, if I'm not mistaken? Did he win two? Or am I capping on that one?
He won one.
Okay. But even then, I don't think he deserved it that year, in my opinion. I know he averaged a triple-double, and I know we haven't seen it in a while, but I don't think that was kind of the... I don't think he was the MVP, in my opinion, in that year.
I mean, he did lead that OKC team to the playoffs. although he had a good team, they just were playing rust ball and inflating his stats.
Exactly, and that's kind of my thing. Is like, okay, you inflate the stats, you give him all these kind of I don't know what you call it, like, whatever you want to call it, but like rust ball and the way that they played, it's like, yeah, his numbers are going to be inflated. The media is going to be enamored. I think that's the one thing too, is that like, when the media looks at numbers, are they just looking at the box score of points, assists, rebounds, and saying like, oh wow, Westbrook has this amazing amount, and this is the same thing maybe with Jokic as well, and with Embiid and all these players, like, wow, they have so many like points, assists, and rebounds. How can we not vote this guy MVP? But when you look at the game deeper and you look at, the cheap assists that people get, basically, bigs boxing out so your little man can get the rebound. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, those are inflated stats. Those are stats that I don't think really are that important because we know that those were made inflated.
Mm-hmm. They don't translate into playoff basketball. Russ isn't going to average a triple-double in a playoff series. At least not this Russ. This is bodybuilder Russ.
And let's see here as we kind of move on to our next topic. I mean, I think the other thing that we can kind of talk about before we kind of sign out of here, because I got to sign out just a little bit early for you guys. I do apologize. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this story. We talk about chemistry being an important thing in the NBA. With the MVP discussions of how they have so much, chemistry with their teammates, how they interact with them. We do know that at one point, the chemistry and the relationship between Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell was almost imperiled to where the point where a lot of us fans were thinking, oh shoot, he might get traded. They might have to trade one of these guys. But we did have a conversation with Rudy Gobert talking with Donovan Mitchell, leading to a realization that we can move forward. So let me read this article and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about it. So back in March, there was some level of uncertainty on whether Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert could coexist with the Utah Jazz over the long term. The issue was pressing one for the Jazz as both players faced extension decisions during the 2020 offseason. We had a very honest conversation. That's all I needed, Gobert told Sam Amick of The Athletic. After that, once I knew that I told him everything that was on my mind, I heard everything that was on his mind. I knew that we can move forward. I'm not the one to disclose on all that, but I know that once we had that conversation, we can move forward. So I guess Brad and Logan, when you listen to that conversation, do you think that Rudy Gobert's talking cap? Do you think he's talking? Is he truthful? Like, what's your opinion on this relationship? I mean, it's working out so far. I mean, they're second in the conference right now. As of recording this live stream on the 2nd of February. I think they're either third or they're second or third. But what is your guys' opinion on this story?
Very truthful. And I think right now the Jazz are first. But what I'm thinking is these guys just had a very serious, open conversation about it. Having been through COVID already, I can understand some of the emotions that you go through with the people around you. So I can understand there's a very tense environment. But after opening up, yeah, I could get how they can move on and actually grow from it. But Rudy Gobert, I think, as we all saw with the whole microphone incident, he's a very bashful guy. He's just very brash. He's just open, just doesn't care. And so he's going to be up front. He's not going to really hide any. So I can see how this is a very truthful statement.
Yeah, I think that's real talk. They probably just had man to man. Rudy probably apologized a couple times. And I think they probably realize they're all they've got, really. Like, they can't trade one of each other because what you get back wouldn't be as good as the other counterpart, and they work pretty well together. So you might as well play through it and, grow your chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, as we kind of wrap up this conversation, I think, like you said, I definitely think that this was honest. Obviously, when everyone didn't really know the situation at hand as it pertained to the pandemic and what happened with all that stuff. Like, yeah, and understandably, I would say Donovan Mitchell would be pissed because, right, it cost him a couple of weeks that without being safe and not taking the proper precautions. But now that we kind of know a little bit more, I think these guys are going to take it a lot more serious and actually care about what's going on in the world in terms of in terms of COVID and all this other stuff. You do have to take care of your bodies. You do have to make sure that you are socially distant, wearing your mask, doing the things that is needed in order to play basketball again. Because, I think it took a lot of sacrifice for these guys to get back to that point where they could honestly be like, okay, we're fine with playing basketball. And so I think the Jazz right now are in a perfect situation to where we'll see what happens. This isn't the most exciting. Actually, that's not true. I think Mike Conley, and I talked about this in the stream, probably I did by myself. Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, they're all playing very well. What's kind of frustrating to me, Brad, was that, where was this Jordan Clarkson when LeBron had him? That's
exactly.
That's all I want to know. Where was he? He was in hiding. I don't know what was going on with it, but it was a little disappointing to see that. But is there a topic that you guys wanted to?
Got all tatted up, man.
Yeah, he got tatted up now. But was there a conversation or something that you guys wanted to talk about that we haven't really discussed so far?
Super Bowl takes, man. Come on, we got 5 days until the game. This is going to be one of the greatest Super Bowls. Tom Brady versus Mahomes. That's crazy.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. All right, Logan, who you got in the Super Bowl and why?
I gotta go with my boy Pat Mahomes, just because nobody wants to see Brady win, and to be honest, I could see Brady, having some miraculous comeback, but the Chiefs' defense is going to be a little bit too much for Brady to withstand. Unlike the Tampa Bay defense, who I think will bend and definitely break to Pat Mahomes' offense.
All right, Brad, who do you got in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I'm with Logan. Chiefs' offense is too high-powered. They're going to have a hard time covering Tyreek Hill. And then the Bucs' defense is non-existent. So, Pat Mahomes for the win.
Okay. All right. I think you guys are forgetting something. It's something that you learn a long time with two players that you don't bet against. One of them
plays bad in the clutch.
One of them is LeBron James. You don't bet against him. The other one is Tom Brady. Those two guys have shown you that Father Time is getting his butt whooped right now by those two people. Like the fact that the Tom Brady is playing at the age that he's playing at with the quarterback, I understand, in this day and age, it's not as rough as it was 20 years ago, but still impressive to get to this point. And I gotta say, I'm tired of the what is it, Jackson Mahomes or Justin Mahomes, the younger brother and his TikToks. I'm tired of those. I'm hoping that this is the one where he cries in the TikTok because his brother lost the Super Bowl. But to kind of take it seriously, I think Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, yes, their defense isn't good, but their pass rushers on the ends at least are very good. You got JPP, you got Ndamukong, and I believe you got I can't remember what Barrett. Yeah, I mean you got some great pass rushers, man. So I think they're gonna get to Mahomes. It'll be a fun one to watch. But like I said, man, you're basically looking at LeBron James and Tom Brady being the same player in terms of their consistency, being able to spend so much money on their body so they can be in the situations that they're in. And so, man, I got to go with Tampa Bay in this one. It's going to be a low-scoring one in my opinion, probably 24-17, and I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning that game.
That low of a score? Wow.
I think it's going to be low. I don't think it's going to be that high. I think there's going to be a lot of sacks. There's going to be a lot of bad, bad balls thrown. They're going to have to punt sometimes, but I do think that it will be an exciting one that probably will likely go into the fourth quarter, in my opinion.
No, I like that score, Bernie. It's a 24-17. I like it for the first half.
Yeah.
I do, to be honest, and I think it'll be upwards of 40 points on each side. I can easily see that. I mean, it's going to be a shootout. But, to be honest, I get you, Bernie. You can't bet against the GOAT. But this isn't New England. So things have changed.
I mean, yeah, changed for the better. They got a better team around Tom Brady now. They don't have to rely on, wide receivers from the grocery store to catch their balls. Now they have two really good players. Yeah, Godwin With his, I would say, easy catches are not so good, but with the tough ones, he's able to make them. And so, I don't know, man. I think that you're seeing a different Tom Brady, and I think Brian Leftwich is. I will say it's kind of a shame that he didn't even get a call to even like be considered for some sort of coaching job, at least.
Well, we've seen a
Very
history
true.
of that in the NFL.
Yeah.
Fortunately.
But yeah, I mean, I think he's a good coach, and he's gotten this. I would say that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers these last couple of weeks have shown that they've really stepped up in that situation. So, in my opinion, I have them, like I said, winning the Super Bowl, and that's kind of my take on it. And before we head out of here, guys, is there anything else that you want to bring up NBA related that we need to talk about?
I mean, I was gonna say, any takes on the Suns Pelicans game tonight?
Let me look at I'm like, unfortunately, just because I'm doing the show, I'm not able to watch. But let me look at how's it going? 27-30, okay.
I got the Pelicans.
Ooh, got the Pelicans, okay. Logan, who do you got in this game?
I'm gonna take the Suns by 12.
Suns by 12. Okay. I'm gonna have to agree with Brad. I think the Pelicans are gonna win. It looks like from the way that Devin Booker's shooting right now that Kendall Kardashian or Kendall Jenner is taking some of his superpowers away. So I think Lonzo Ball playing really well. +8 in the plus-minus category for you, Logan. JJ Redick still looking like he's working on his podcast and not playing.
Does Lonzo Ball have any assists?
No, but he's holding Devin Booker.
No, he does not have any assists. That's
He
right.
has a 3 and 2
He's
rebounds.
such a good passer.
While playing first team defense on Devin
You guys
Booker.
realize Zion Williamson had 15 points in the first quarter, and Lonzo Ball did not have one assist off of those 15 points? That's ridiculous.
Because Stan centered the offense around Steven. He doesn't get the ball. I'm watching the game. He's not allowed to dribble. Stan makes it a rotation offense where they have to pass and then cut around. It's like almost Wildcat 5. It's terrible. Only Ingram and Zion can ISO.
Don't get me started with the Wildcat 5, man. I'm about to lose it. Ugh.
So, Brad, are you taking? What are you guys taking the Pelicans by? Will it be a close game? Will it be a blowout? What are you saying here?
I got Pelicans by 6. I think it'll be a close game.
Okay.
I think the Suns always have a lot of trouble with Zion. I mean, that's evidenced in the first quarter. He dropped 17 on 7 of 9.
I got Pelicans by 2. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think, like Brad said, like the offense is just, if Zion or BI are not going off or doing something, the offense is just, it sputters. And so I think it's going to be one of those close games. I think the Pelicans not, we talked about their playoff chances, obviously not very high. I've changed my opinion on them, of course. But I do think that they have the ability to make it a close game. I think, I think defensively they're going to be solid, but it's just offensively, can they create a single bucket? And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I got the Pelicans in 2.
So is it going to be Lonzo Ball at the free throw line to put him up by 2, or who is that going to be?
Hopefully not Eric Bledsoe. Anybody but him.
It's going to be your boy Steven Adams, Logan.
Hey, he's a rock, man. He's that boulder.
Even better, it's going to be Jackson Hayes.
Oh, jeez. Brad's boy.
I'm looking at their bench right now.
Top 3 the other night?
Never. I did not say that. He's barely an NBA player. Their bench is really bad.
Yeah, they're probably one of the worst. Like I said, JJ Redick is more focused on making podcasts than really playing the game. I mean, I know he just made a 2-point shot.
Yeah.
Or he made 2 free throws, I guess. Oh, no, he did make a 2-point shot. But it's like, you're not getting much from him. Jackson Hayes is a DMP. Lewis Jr. is a DMP. Thornwell, Nico Melli. I mean, who are these guys?
And these are the guys you're saying are going to beat the Suns. What do you mean?
Hey, man.
I mean, they're up right now.
But they still have Bi and Zion, which I think is it's a pretty deadly duo in my opinion.
Especially with their defense. Oh, Lonzo should have just gotten an assist, except that it was to Willie Herman Gomez, so he tricked the layup.
Oof.
That's not Lonzo's fault, Logan.
Yeah, I know, Gabby.
David Griffin's fault.
Larry hates Lonzo.
It's crazy. He just had a fadeaway three. He hurt him.
You know, it's not that I hate him. It's just that I think he's a bust as a number 2 overall pick.
Bust.
I know a lot of people. A bust, a complete bust. And
All right.
I know a lot of people.
If he's a bust, then Ben Simmons is a bust.
For sure.
And I will keep saying that till the cows come home. If you're gonna call Lonzo Ball a bust, then you have to call Ben Simmons a bust as well.
We really want to compare these two? Okay.
We don't have time for this because I do have a meeting to get to, but let's save that for Monday.
You really want to compare? Yeah, let's look at these numbers.
Let's talk Monday. Well, we'll compare the numbers. We'll see how Ben Simmons has gradually, basically declined each and every year, in my opinion, then incline. But Monday, we'll save it for Monday because I got this meeting.
1.5 assists, Lonzo Ball out here. Get out of here, man. I'm tired.
We'll talk about this Monday. I'm down to talk about it. Brad and Logan, if you guys are down to talk Monday, I'm down to talk Monday about this. This will actually be a fun conversation.
You know it.
For sure.
Alrighty, everybody. That's going to do it here for the Charge. Thank you so much for the 4 to 7 people that were kind of tuning in each and every time. We do appreciate you guys kind of joining the Charge, listening to us. But also, guys, please remember to hit that like button if you are new to the channel. Also, hit that subscribe button as well. The more subscribes you get, the more likes you get, the more engagement in the comment section, the live chat, the more it means that people are going to mess with us. They're actually going to listen to our conversations a lot more. And again, we'll turn that 4 to 7 and we'll turn it into 20 and then hopefully eventually a couple thousand people in here. But before we get going, Brad or Logan, do you guys want to shout out some social media stuff or anything that you guys want to shout out?
As always, my Twitter at Quisele12. Bernie, I think you've had it up there before.
Yeah, Quisele12. Let me get that up really quick to show you guys. Logan, do you have anything to shout out?
Big shout out to all the homies out there. Listen, good looks on coming through, and I hope to be on here soon.
Okay, let me show this Twitter really quick so you guys can follow. Definitely a great follow if you are listening or if you are watching. He does have some great Twitter stuff. Like I said, Quisele12, Virgil Hawkins as kind of the name, and then of course the username is at Quisele12. But anyway, guys, like I said, this has been your boy Bernie here on The Charge, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Thank you so much, Logan. Thank you so much, Brad, for coming on to the show. We appreciate you guys.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me.
Alrighty, everybody. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. But anyway, guys, please remember to hit that like button. Remember to hit that subscribe button. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.